Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ale, short for Alejandra. Thank you for being here and sharing your time with me. I really appreciate it. Today is going to be a very simple little journal with me. First, as always, I wanted to light my little candles and get the mood set for some creative time. The main thing I wanted to tackle on this day was my journal entries for movies that I've recently been watching. Specifically, One Battle After Another, which I went to see in theaters on October 30th. So I guess it was technically October October 30th? No, anyway, it doesn't matter. At the very end of October. And I've just been thinking a lot about it. It was very impactful. I feel like everyone on the internet is talking about it. But yeah, it was really impactful. So I printed some photos, some stills, which are the ones on the left of the page, the one that I'm working on. And I'm going to give it my little ratings with my Hobonichi stencil. It has like the 5 stars that you can choose however many stars you want to use. But for this one, I went with the full 5 because I thought it was fantastic. I really did. So I really wanted to do a dedicated spread. If you have seen my videos before, you know I did this for Mickey 17, and that was also a 5-star film. And then on the right hand side is the Smashing Machine, and that was another film we went to see, and I gave this one 3 stars, which 3 is a fine rating. Like, that just means I enjoyed it, but probably I enjoyed the cinematography more than maybe the characters, and I don't know that it'll necessarily stay with me for a long time. But while I was watching it, I appreciated a lot of the creative aspects of it, I guess. But with One Battle After Another, I just thought it was phenomenal, which is why I wanted to dedicate a spread to it. And then it just felt right to make it a 2-page spread about the films that I've watched recently. Anyway, all of that to say, that is what we're doing today. And I wanted you to see the process, even though I forgot to film me choosing the photos that I picked to print out. But anyway, you get the idea. I feel like I've printed many photos on my channel before, and the process is the same. I used my Canon selfie for the film stills for One Battle After Another, and then the movie poster and the movie ticket I just printed on a regular printer. And this process that I'm making you endure here with me was really difficult, okay? I was going in with pencil first to do the title, but I wanted to make sure that it was balanced. And these things can be challenging regardless of whether you're on or off camera, but I do find it particularly tricky to figure it out when I know I'm recording myself. I think that's also because I can't get as close to the page as I perhaps normally would, because otherwise all you would see on the screen is the back of my head. But once I put my little pencil board, I think we made some improvements. And for me, there's no better way to write straight than by completely turning my paper. So I think once I accepted that that was the only way that I was going to be able to do it, we got a bit further. And anyway, so what we're going to do first is do the title of the film, which is One Battle After Another. And as you know, I did it first in pencil, and then I went over it in pen. And that's what it looks like there. Nothing crazy by any means. I think it looks a little, if I'm being really particular, I do think it looks a bit, you know what? No, let's not say anything negative about it, because I do think in the end it looks, once it all comes together, I was a fan of it. So all we have to do now is just go over the pencil with my permanent marker, and then I can erase the pencil marks from below, and that's it. That's the title. I feel like once I go over a title in pen, as opposed to when it's just sitting there with pencil, I think I'm almost always happier than when I'm looking at it in pencil. I don't know why. I think It's just like when it becomes a little bit bolder, I'm just like, okay, I can accept this final result. And then I just like to do permanent marker for titles when I've done pencil underneath, because when I erase it like this, there are some pens that can smudge, and there's nothing more heartbreaking than putting in all that time and effort and then having it smudge like once you've finished. So I just kind of try my very best that anytime I'm doing titles over pencil to just do permanent marker, and then I'm not disappointed. I believe I have spoken about my love for art, okay? And I use that word very broadly, okay? Because for me, art is literature, it is music, it is any form of cinematography, whether that's short films, regular films, even some TV shows, plays, actual art pieces in a museum. I love it all, and I'm very moved by a lot of it. And I think the older I've gotten, the more I appreciate films. And I think this has been a part of my life for a while now. My brother works in the film industry, and I think it was something that we really always bonded over, the fact that when we'd watch films, we'd really be seeing it, you know, like as a whole, not just like, oh, that was a bad story. It's like, okay, sure, maybe you didn't connect as much with the story, but how did you feel about the way that the story was told? You know, was it linear or non-linear? Were we playing with the timelines? How was the color grading? You know, the soundtrack. There's so many different things at play when it comes to films, and I think I don't know if it's just that I'm noticing it more and more, or perhaps now I just gravitate towards films that feel very purposeful in that way, that I feel like I'm having more of those experiences. So I don't know if it's just the fact that there's more of them, or I just gravitate towards that kind of movie. Anyway, all of that to say, one battle after another just really felt like it was catering to all those things that I really appreciate. And there's so many different themes that are really important in that movie, and how, you know, it beyond the themes that it talks about, which I think are important, and you should look into them and maybe watch it if it's your cup of tea. But I think just playing with the timeline of how like this mom's life mission ends up affecting everyone around her, and then even without intending to also influences her child, regardless of whether they had a relationship or not. It's like that legacy that the mom had ends up affecting the child and the decisions that the child makes, or what the child feels passionate about. I don't know, you know, those like multi-generational things that occur in all families, whether it's positive or negative, was really interesting. And just the family dynamics, the political conversations that were being had. Yeah, it was just really impactful, and it was almost a 3-hour film, which is a big amount of time to request from people, but it was really excellently paced. I feel like from the beginning, you're so in it. You're like, what is going on? What is going to happen? That the 3 hours flew by for me, honestly. I was just like, I couldn't look away. And there was something really satisfying about hearing Leonardo DiCaprio just like at the top of his lungs yell, "Viva la revolución." That was really satisfying. From the moment I saw that in the trailer, I was like, oh yes, I can't wait to see that. So yeah, I just essentially wrote thoughts along those lines in that page, so that I wouldn't forget how I felt about it in the years to come. As I mentioned previously, the other film that I wanted to do a little spread on is The Smashing Machine. And again, not because I felt as strongly about it as I did One Battle After Another, but I think it was another highly anticipated film. It's an A24 film, which is my favorite production company, film production company. And yeah, I just wanted to do a little a little page about it, because it also, I think for that page in particular, it's not only like my thoughts on the film, but it also captures like what I did that day, which is Michael and our friend Mark, we try to go to the movies on Tuesdays because it's Cheap Tuesday. And it's just a really nice thing to do when you're starting off your week. And sometimes we'll go to a bar next door, which does Margarita Tuesdays. And it's just a lovely little evening. We each get a little margarita and then we go watch a movie that we've been excited to go see. And I think for this one, we didn't have any high expectations. I definitely had high expectations for One Battle After Another, and they were met, thankfully. I try to not do that because then I think it can often taint my experience. But I went into the Smashing Machine pretty neutrally. I was quite intrigued to see the film style of that one, because in the trailers, it's very evident that they took kind of like a retro, grainy film style to the movie, and I just was really curious to see how they were going to play that out. And I'm also a big fan of Emily Blunt. I think she's really good at doing minute, like she can express a lot of feelings in very minute expressions. I don't know if anyone's familiar with the movie A Quiet Place, but she has to give birth in pure silence because of, the situation that she's in that movie. And I just remember it being such a chilling performance, and just like knowing that she transmitted so much feeling in pure silence. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, and there's one scene in this movie where she's like the love interest of the main character in the movie, and this is obviously based on a true story. So I just really wanted to see how Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt kind of brought these characters that many of us don't know to life. And she was very good. I think arguably, in my opinion, the scenes of them together, aside from the scenes of him training, were probably what I found most interesting, just because they had such a, what I think we would call a toxic relationship, but a very, complex relationship, as most relationships are. And that was really interesting to watch. But in terms of what I'm doing in this video, is I'm doing the same title style that I did for One Battle After Another, because I thought it would just look nice, since it's technically a 2-page spread dedicated to the films I've been watching. And this one felt a little bit less daunting, because I knew it was going to be like each word was going to be on each line, like the Smashing Machine. So I didn't have to worry too much about spacing. And then I also had, I don't know why I found that one easier to do. Maybe I was just warmed up from the first title, and then I wasn't so in my head about it. But anyway, I think it looks nice to have the consistent title styles. I felt that the little top bit looked a bit empty, since I kind of wanted the part next to the movie poster to just be the title, not actual writing. So I wrote an A24 film, which I think fills up the space a bit more nicely, or just kind of segues into the title. Anyway, and then we're back to the same thing that I was talking about before, which is just erasing the pencil marks from below. And then I can pretend that I did it all freehand and I didn't make any mistakes, but oftentimes I did it in pencil first and had to try it a few times before I was content with it, as you saw with One Battle After Another. I think I mentioned this in my previous video, that I've definitely been reading a little bit more than I have in the past. I feel like as I'm doing this voiceover, that doesn't feel like that's the truth. But I have read a few books, which I think I talked about in my last video. And as you can see on the, next to the candles, there's a few other book covers and images that I want to write about. Just more media analyses, is that the word? And commonplacing, perhaps, because sometimes I'm just transcribing quotes and passages from the book into my notebooks, or even if I read an essay about the book or a review that was online somewhere, sometimes I just want to write those down, right? Which I guess then that's commonplacing. It's not me having any active reflections of my own. It's just things that perhaps resonated with me that other people said that I kind of write down. So that's something that I've really been enjoying doing, and hopefully in the near future I'll have a bit more time to sit down and do those journal entries, because they're piling up a little bit, if I'm honest. But anyway, that aside, in this page I was just writing what I was saying earlier about our expectations for the film, and Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt and all those things. And I think we all went in with no expectations, and we were like decently satisfied with them. You know what I mean? Like, it was good. I would love to know, though, if anyone watching this has seen a film recently that they've loved, or is highly anticipating one, perhaps. Well, I'll say this now. So the book cover that's right there in the yellow is called Die My Love, which I did mention before, but I think I mentioned it in my last video. And I'm so excited about that one because it has been adapted into a film, and it comes out in November, and it's starring Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson, and I am so excited. I think since I love both books and movies, there's something, so it's like it's simultaneously terrifying and thrilling, because sometimes I'm obviously very attached to a book, and the thought of it getting adapted is a bit scary, because I have to understand that the creative liberties that a director may take may not align with what I wanted or was expecting. But I think I've gotten better over time at releasing any expectations and letting the person that's adapting the book typically to do what they need to do, to see it through into another medium. And I think it's going to be really good. I just have a good feeling about it. I recently watched the trailer. If you haven't, check it out. As long as you're not, I think it's going to be, I don't think, I know it'll definitely be heavy on conversations of motherhood and postpartum depression. So fair, heads up on those things. But I'm very excited to see what comes of that. And I'm really looking forward to it. There's a few other books that I'm hoping to get to sooner rather than later, because they're being adapted in the next few months. And that's always a really big thrill for me. So I'd love to hear if anyone has anything that they've been reading, watching, listening that they've loved, or is just really high on their up next list. My original intention with this video was to make the first part a discussion on films, and then make the second part of this video a discussion on books. But as you may, some of these clips are I think all of these clips are shortened, right? I don't film the entire time that I'm doing this. Not to mention I didn't film like me accumulating the photos and cutting them up and figuring out their positioning at all. They do take quite a long time, and I've unfortunately, and fortunately I guess, been quite a busy girl these days. So I have not gone around to do any book entries. So this video will only be on films. But that only means that, what that really means, I guess I should say, is that I will be back later on with a video on books. So hopefully we can look forward to that. And in case you don't care about films, I'm sorry. If you only wanted to see things about books, I will provide on the next one. I promise, you have my word. Anyway, final line on the page, and it was done. And I think it looks so satisfying, especially because this page kind of goes along with my other notebook because I printed the movie poster for One Battle After Another. Anyway, I'm putting this away, and I will let this clip play out because I want to prove to you that my intention really was to do more than just my film spread. I even have my book one set up. I was going to do an entry for Sad Tiger by Nej Sino, and I didn't get around to it. But I have the template down and ready, so hopefully I'll get to that soon. Anyway, thank you so much for being here and sharing your time with me. I really, really appreciate it, and I will see you when I see you. Bye! Mwah!